What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream of the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devendra Hardwar. This week, I'm joined with our Deputy Reviews Editor? Deputy Reviews
Deputy
Editor?
No,
Deputy Editor of Reviews, Sherlyn Lowe, and podcast producer, Ben Ellman. Hello, Ben. Hello, Sherlyn.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. We've got some guests like online right now, folks. So normally we kind of sit down and chat with the live stream audience, but we're going to just kind of get going. We've got a good show about the James Webb Telescope and the Activision Microsoft deal, which is really, really interesting. So we're just going to go right into it. Okay. And thank you all for joining us on the live stream as usual.
Yeah, we have a new audience member, Jude Boak, I don't even, who says that they're new here. Jonathan Anderson, Drew Carmoka, Andrew Littman, Dat Gabra, Alfredo De Vera, Jiming Chong, all here. Thank you. All
thank you
familiar names.
I'm so looking forward to talking about space stuff. I've been working
space
on this.
stuff.
Yeah,
we've been wanting to do this for a while.
So for a few weeks. Yeah. So
the timing worked out really, really well.
Jonathan clearly pays attention to my very whiny Twitter feed where I've been complaining about not having hot water for a while now, and I still don't have hot water. It's still freezing cold when I do anything with water. Hi also to Ruin Dig, and there you go.
It's crazy that the hot water gets all the way up there. What are you on, like the 35th floor or something?
Ish. I don't really want to give away my actual
it's
floor.
Weird. It is weird how modern things work.
I'm just saying that Sherlyn lives in the sky. When you told me what floor when you told me what floor you lived on, I was like, I don't know if humans are supposed to live up that high.
Oh, well, everyone in Singapore lives in high-rise buildings, so I'm pretty used to it. Michael Coley also said, Good morning to you too.
All right.
And
let's
afternoon
kick things off.
and evening.
Once we're all good. Everybody good to go? We've got our guests lined up. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to talk about the James Webb Telescope. Okay. My recording is good. So, and we will do a little bit of Q&A chat room. So just sit tight in between segments. We'll see how things work out timing wise. And we will talk about Microsoft and Activision, but that probably won't be until 11. That's when Jess is going to join us. So just for a heads up for anybody who's interested in that. Okay, let's kick things off. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devendra Hardwar.
I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe.
Today, we've got some very exciting stuff lined up. We will be talking about the James Webb Telescope with some of our favorite science journalists, and we'll also be diving into the insane, wild, huge Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard deal that was just announced this week too. Jess Condit is going to be joining us for that. And it's going to be a very exciting, action-packed episode. As always, if you're enjoying the Engadget Podcast, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. That's always a big, big help. And you can join us live Thursday mornings, typically around 10 a.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. Go ahead.
Okay, Julio, hit the clip.
Mirror deployment, folks. You guys did a heck of a job. This is unbelievable. We are now at a point where I looked up before, we're about 600,000 miles from Earth, and we actually have a telescope. So congratulations to everybody.
We have a telescope.
You guys did a heck of a job.
It's still going. It's okay. We have a telescope. Those are iconic words, among the many, many space speeches we've probably heard in our lifetimes. So we will be talking about the James Webb Space Telescope, which is a big, big deal. Something that's been worked on for decades, something I know a lot of astronomers have really been looking forward to. And joining us to kind of figure out what is going on with this thing and what it means for us is Tarek Malik, editor-in-chief of space.com.
Hello, thanks for having us here.
Technology journalist all over the place. You write for Engadget and Wired. Hello, Swapna.
Hello.
Hello. So I want to thank you both for joining us. And also, how are you guys feeling about James Webb right now? Because this thing, whenever I talk to anybody who's interested in space, they are kind of on like pins and needles. They're very scared about things going wrong. They're very excited about like how far we've come so far. Can you guys tell us, first of all, what is the James Webb Space Telescope? And, how are you feeling about the progress so far?
Well, I guess to start off with, the James Webb Space Telescope is, I guess, simply the largest space telescope ever built. It's about 5 times the size of the Hubble Space Telescope. It's supposed to look farther into the past than ever before, possibly even seeing the first stars and galaxies, or that first light, at least. And the hope is that it's going to unlock a lot of the secrets of what makes the universe that we see today. And it's also a technological feat. It's the size of a tennis court that they folded up like an origami construction kit, and they launched it on a rocket. And it's just quite simply the scariest telescope I've ever seen launched. Bit of FOMO. I was supposed to actually go to the actual launch operations in Baltimore. Basically, the clip that you mentioned where they were talking about it, that's where we were supposed to be. Because they delayed it onto Christmas, it really just did not mesh up, and we had a lot of transportation delays at that time too. And so that was kind of a bittersweet moment. You follow this mission for it's been 20 years now, and then at the end of it, you kind of can't be there for that home run that they hit out of the park there.
Swapna, were you able to go? Were you gonna go?
I would have loved to go, but the constant delays and childcare, like if in a vacuum, I would have been in French Guiana in a heartbeat. But just with the constant delays of this telescope, I had no faith that it was actually going to go up before 2022. So I am so glad it did. I feel like we've been terrified the first couple of weeks. And now, like, when I saw you re-air that clip, I got really emotional and I almost started crying.
So many feelings. I am I'm a glass wall of emotion, or whatever the Anchorman thing is. You mentioned French Guiana, Swapna, so I just also want to point out, people may not know, but Europe's launching pad is in French Guiana in South America, right near the equator. I always love hearing about things that launch there, because I was born a couple countries away in Guyana. So it is cool that science stuff is happening like all over the world, and nobody ever talks about French Guiana. So that is, that's super cool. So yeah, Swapna, like, what is your take on James Webb? Because I know you followed this quite a bit, but also you're of a different generation too. Like, are you expecting us to be doing more when it comes to like space coverage? Because Hubble is so old, so many of the things we rely on are so old, and it feels like we have not really progressed too much scientifically or like technologically in decades,
Yeah, and I think part of the big fear was of this telescope specifically is it's a once in a lifetime thing. If one thing didn't work, this was the chance we were going to get. Like, this is it. If this didn't work, it's taken this telescope has been in development for 30 years. I think the original launch date was supposed to be 2007.
Oh man.
This was our chance. And so there's a lot of relief. That it seems to have been going so well so far. And also,
knock on wood, cross fingers, everything.
I know.
Yeah.
We're not out of the woods yet. It's easy to feel a lot of and we do feel a lot of relief because a lot of the hard stuff is over, but there's still a lot to do. But yeah, I'm very eager to see what JWST will send back. This was a very expensive telescope, $10 billion. I'm curious and a little bit anxious to see what the response to what we get is. There's a lot of questions, especially right now with everything that's going on. Do we really need a $10 billion telescope? And like, as a fan of space, as a space, I'm like, yes, of course we need it. But, I really, really hope that once we start getting data back from it, people will see the need for science's sake.
Gotcha. And, speaking of hard stuff, Swapna, like we've talked about like how delicate this is. I believe the reporting is there are 344 points of failure for launching this telescope, operating this telescope. We've cleared a lot of those because they've unfolded the mirrors. It is like right now it's moving towards its permanent orbital spot. What else is left to do, and what are the things people are worried about, going forward for the James Webb Telescope?
There's still a lot to do. We're still not at Lagrange point 2 yet, so we still have to get there. I think the goal is Monday now, and see the first data back from this telescope, science data at least, for 5 more months. There's they have to focus, calibrate, align the mirror, which is going to take a really long time, and there's still a lot left to do.
It's like it is like a giant camera, and now we have to dial in the focus meter. Like that is kind of wild. You also mentioned something, Lagrange point 2, Swapna. Tarek, what is that? Why is it important for James Webb to get there?
This is the really weird thing about not just this mission, but several others that are like it, is that in order to kind of get the science that the researchers want to do, they need to be in a place that is, fairly out there in deep space, but reachable from the rockets that we've got today, and a place where they can keep the telescope cool. This is primarily, James Webb, an infrared telescope. It's not going to take a pretty visible light picture of Mars that we might see from Hubble and whatnot. So they've picked this place called the Sun-Earth Lagrange point 2. It's about 1 million miles from Earth on the opposite side of the sun, and it's just like a space. There's nothing there. It's just an empty space, but
our orbital area.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're driving on a highway and there's just like a random parking spot, there's nothing around it. That's what this is. Maybe a couple of cars. So there's a few spacecraft that we've sent there before, and basically it's a stable point that they can orbit around it just because of gravitational effects between the Earth and the sun, and they can stay there for a good long time. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to go to that point. They're going to set it up so that the sun is behind this tennis court size sun shield that James Webb has, which will keep all of its science instruments super, super, super cold. The colder they are, the better they can detect just the faintest heat and radiation from the stars around them. And that's what they're hoping to see. It's as I mentioned, it's about 21 feet across, the main primary mirror. And the goal is to use that light collection area to collect this really low a wavelength light from the earliest parts of the universe.
Gotcha. And yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into that actually. So conceptually, like at a big picture level, Tarek and Swapna, like what is James Webb doing that Hubble can't, right? I seem to recall that there is a limitation in terms of like how far Hubble can see because of where it is, and it's relying on visible light, whereas James Webb has infrared techniques. It has infrared camera. It can see much further back, but what does that mean? It can see the formation of stars, I believe. Like that's what I've been reading.
So we're hoping that once it's operational, we'll get to see the first light. Tarek mentioned this earlier, like the first stars and galaxies that formed after the Big Bang, after the period of reionization, which is when the universe was this like opaque primordial soup. The first light of stars is what ionized the universe and made it clear, like, so we can see starlight from here.
How far back is that? Like 100 million years after the Big Bang? Like what is the time scale?
I believe it's I believe it's like 400,000 years to 1 million years.
Okay.
After the Big Bang, and so that's what we're hoping to see. Basically, that would be like I feel like the holy grail of JWST to be able to see that far back. Gotcha.
And what sort of equipment does James Webb have that kind of helps it see this far back, right? So it has infrared that Hubble doesn't have. It has a much larger mirror from what I could tell, but we're seeing things like NIRCam and NIRSpec and MIRI. What are the tools it has on board?
Well, James Webb, it has 4 primary instruments. Most of them are all just these really sensitive infrared cameras. And what they can do, like if we compare it to the Hubble Space Telescope, for example. So you've got Hubble, first of all, much smaller. Hubble's main light collection area is about, I think I mentioned this, about 1/5 the size of what James Webb has. Hubble can see in visible light, and then an ultraviolet light, and then in kind of like the upper levels of infrared light. And what James Webb can do with these 4 instruments is see a little bit of visible light, like the very reddest of the red, but then go very, very deep down into the really low infrared signals with all of these detectors combined. And that is what allows them to not just look at this epoch of reionization, is what they call it. You can imagine the early universe being just this dark place because it's just electrons and protons and neutrons. Nothing is sticking together. Then it all starts sticking together, and that's when stars are born. And so they're hoping that to be able to use these instruments to see that first light, or as close to it as they can. They can also use that infrared detectors to possibly even see the atmospheres of extrasolar planets as they pass behind or pass in front of stars behind them, and can also fine-tune them in our own solar system to look at the atmosphere of the big planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Look at these weird gas plumes that are coming out of some of the icy moons around those planets, and see what's in those too. So they've got a lot of versatility between our own solar system, the planets that we're seeing out across the galaxy, and then maybe even deeper back to the birth of the universe.
Gotcha. That idea, like you were mentioning extrasolar planets, how's that different from the way we're detecting and just learning about extrasolar planets right now? Because I have a distinct memory of being in science class in like the mid 90s and just asking my teachers, like, so wait, we don't know about any planets outside of our solar system? And she just kind of shrugged. Like, I don't know. I guess not. And then a couple of years later, we started discovering the first extrasolars. And how are the techniques we were using then compared to like what James Webb is going to be able to do?
Well, I guess one of the big advances now, as you mentioned, in the early 1990s, we didn't know of any. Now we know of thousands, maybe.
It's wild to me. Just, hey, they're there. Yeah.
And one of the interesting things that James Webb can do is it really can follow up on those findings. NASA had a space telescope called Kepler, basically taking snapshots and finding all of these planets, maybe getting a little bit of data. Hubble can see some of that infrared signals from these planets, but just not the detail that James Webb is hoped to be able to do. And so that is kind of its ace in the hole, is that it can just look deeper and farther than ever before, and with much more detail. Now, they don't know what they're going to find. And it's possible that, as Swapna alluded to, and hopefully I'm going to knock on my desk here, that it doesn't happen, but it's possible something might surprise them on how the telescope works. As it's designed, it's supposed to be able to really just look much more detailed at those atmospheres and see, is there water vapor there that this other signal might have hinted at? So you'll see a lot of people doing science on Hubble now that they can then follow up with James Webb to confirm that.
They can be complementary is the whole thing. Like, as long as Hubble lasts, like, knock on wood, poor telescope, they can work together, which is going to be really fantastic.
That's really exciting. So what can we learn by knowing more about the atmospheres of these planets too, right? So we've gotten some vague hints like, oh, this may be a habitable Earth-like planet, close to the sun. Would James Webb be able to confirm some of those things? Would it be able to detect, hey, elements of potentially life on these planets?
So I think one of the big things that it will be able to do is, for example, if you look at the Earth's atmosphere, we have artificial elements in our atmosphere, like CFCs is a big one that created the hole in our ozone. JWST is going to be sensitive enough to kind of detect these kinds of elements. So if we see, that probably means that there's intelligent life there. More likely than not, that's probably not going to happen. One can dream, but I think it's more exactly what Tariq was saying. Like, it's just more sensitive. It's going to be able to give us more data. It's going to be able to pick up more light. And NIRCam is going to have I think it's called a coronagraph, which will actually block the light from stars to be able to see this stuff better. Because right now, the light from stars is very overwhelming and it's very hard to see exoplanets, to see them. And so JWST is going to be able to do that really much, much more effectively, I think.
Gotcha. Yep.
Fantasy that where we look at, we open our sensors and we see this M-class planet and that M-class planet where we can just beam down and do that. And one of the big questions that I have had is like, what makes us so special? There's other planets in our solar system. Not all of them have atmospheres. but we know that there are some out there beyond that have them. And just getting a sense of how are those atmospheres? Could we live in them? That's what I'm hoping James Webb is going to give us at least a snapshot of. It's a big job, a lot of planets out there to look at.
Gotcha. So kind of things are beginning to happen right now. We're waiting for James Webb to reach orbit. What do we expect to see from it, right? Like, what are the first glimpses of the results that we'll be seeing? Are we expecting like beautiful, I don't know, color accurate renderings? Or are we expecting like infrared signals or something? Like, what do you guys think NASA will actually be showing off for this thing?
Well, the first things we're going to see are fuzzy blobs because they have to focus the instruments.
Yep.
And that mirror, it's 18 different segments. Aligning that mirror so it functions as one giant mirror instead of 18 separate mirrors is going to be so hard and so tedious.
Yeah.
So I think they have picked an area that they're going to focus on in order to do that kind of like first imaging. I don't know if they're actually going to release those images though.
Yeah. I think the really interesting thing about this mission is we live in that's different from the Hubble, for example.
Yeah.
And when it was launched in 1990, is we've got Twitter now, we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram. We live in a time where if you put a camera in space, you want to see stuff from it, like right
we want
now.
To see stuff. Yeah.
And so what NASA has been really careful to say is it's going to take 6 months, like half a year, to basically focus this telescope. And then when they take the pictures, as Swapna mentioned, they're not going to be all that great.
Right.
Because they're not great, they don't want to really, say, hey, here's the first pictures, and it looks like three blobs of light that you can't even tell what it is. They want people to know what they've paid $10 billion for, and so they've been a little cagey about saying what they're going to look at scientifically for that first science image. They say they've got a list. They're not telling us what's on it, but they're saying it's going to be amazing once they get everything up and running.
Gotcha.
So, right until then, I just checked. It's 859,000 miles away right now, and that's getting a bit larger every second. So we just have to wait and see.
Oh, you could do it. We're all rooting for you, James Webb. In just studying what NASA has done in the past. And also, I don't know. One of my favorite shows right now is the Apple TV show For All Mankind, which is entirely about an alternative universe where Russia won the space race, and that kind of accelerated space technology and space travel and building stuff on the moon, stuff that we didn't do. So I'm wondering, like, if this is successful, do you think this could lead to more interesting I don't know, space experiments or more investment in it? Because it also seems like a lot of this is like a public relations thing for NASA, right? Like, they want to show us the good images to prove that $10 billion was worth it, and maybe to prove that we should do more. Where do you guys think this will all lead is my main thing, and how much do you think the PR aspect of it is important to NASA and the space agencies?
I mean, I think the PR aspect of it is very important because it's really hard to do science for science's sake.
Yes.
You can argue that a lot of the crewed missions we're doing, the ISS, all of that is practical. There are practical, benefits. We see them every day. If the number of inventions that came from the Apollo missions is incredible. So there's practical applications for something like JWST, which is just for science's sake. There could be one day practical applications. We could find the next, Earth or something like that. But generally speaking, it's a lot harder to make that case. So I really do think it's a very big deal. Like, it is a big PR thing. And in some ways, NASA really needs to, get the gorgeous images that really capture people's imagination about space in order to make the case that science for science's sake is worth it.
Yeah. And to build on that, Devinder, we're never going to see farther into the universe until we build ginormous telescopes.
Right.
And until now, the biggest thing that we could put in space was the Hubble Space Telescope, launched 30 years ago plus, and that was the best that we had. And largely, we just didn't have anything bigger to put in space, any rockets that could do it. What this mission has shown is that you can build a telescope in pieces, deploy it in many different intricate steps in space, and then have what hopefully will be a working thing. The fact that nothing went wrong in this like horrifically scary deployment sequence over a holiday, for years, where you've got people on their on tenterhooks just waiting to see, are the mirrors going to deploy? Is this gossamer layer of mylar going to unfold properly? Not just one layer, but 5 of them. Is it going to be sensitive enough? The fact that went off swimmingly, speaks well of at least the design and the testing that they did. It was a very rocky road. They almost got canceled when they tested it. They shook screws loose. Early days they ripped the sun shield, but they were able to get through all that. And what they learned from this mission could lead to a telescope design to look for another Earth specifically that is even larger, that maybe comes together with different telescopes assembling in space. And as we speak now, even larger rockets are being designed and tested that could then launch those bigger missions. And so the engineering feat alone will lead to new missions that we're going to be able to look into.
That's really exciting. I think, to put this in lay geek terms, I feel like this telescope is kind of a transformer, right? Like it was launched and it kind of expanded and grew. You're talking about a Voltron.
That's right.
You're talking about a Voltron of a telescope that would be even bigger, more powerful. And I am fully on board for that. For both of you guys too, like we've put so much time into this telescope. There's such a huge investment in it. How long will it actually last? I've seen a whole bunch of estimates. I heard the launch was like really efficient, so maybe it could last longer than we expected. What's the lifespan we're expecting now?
Minimum was 5 years. That was NASA's. If it lasted 5 years, NASA's like, cool, mission accomplished. Really would have liked 10 years. They're saying 20 years right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and 20 years now. That is contingent on funding, as always, right? Because when they do their budget, it's for whatever that primary mission is. What we've seen with Hubble is that if everything is working well, chances are they're going to get the funding, especially when you've already put $10 billion into it. But unlike Hubble, the big risk here is just the actual equipment itself. Now, I think we would all be over the moon if it lasts 20 years.
Right.
But we can't send astronauts to go and fix it like they did with Hubble. When Hubble first launched, it had blurry vision because of a mirror defect, and they had to send astronauts up to basically give it some contacts.
Yep.
And then they did that over and over, I think 4 or 5 more times, to make it bigger, to make it better, and even more powerful. And that's what we've got up there now. They can't do that with James Webb, so they had to make it as powerful as possible from the get-go, kind of like a Swiss Army knife, as opposed to an upgradable computer that you might have. So 20 years, I think that would be amazing. It sounds like they've got the fuel to do it, and barring something surprising like a really bad solar storm, things like that. We've seen in the past that this technology seems to be robust enough to keep itself going.
Gotcha. And aside from its own equipment failures, I'm wondering, like, this is a poor lonely telescope out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing protecting it. It's kind of like, between the Earth and the sun. There's so many other things that could go wrong. Should we be worried about space junk? Should we be worried about solar flares, like you were talking about? Like, what else could get in the way of this thing or potentially harm it?
Generally, space junk isn't too big of an issue just because of how far out it is.
Right.
Micrometeoroids are a problem, but the telescope's designed to withstand them. The sun shield can function even with rips and tears in it. The mirror, part of the reason it's so big is because it can function with some defects.
Okay.
So solar flares, Tariq, you might know more about that than me.
Yeah, so solar flares, it depends on how strong it is and how direct it is. Now, when it's aimed right at Earth, and they're the strongest ones, these are like the strongest solar flares. They can cause communications issues and whatnot. We have seen them affect spacecraft in transit before. Japan lost a mission to Mars because of in part because of a solar flare. But these are all things, as Swapna mentioned, that they really do build into it. They have these space-hardened computers. They have redundant computers. There are some things that they couldn't make redundant, and I think that's probably the biggest risk to this mission. There's something you mentioned about the 300 plus things that had to go right for deployment. Of those, about 80, 85 are left, and those are things that they can't change for the life of the mission. So those have to keep going correctly. Things like some certain hardware that stabilizes the vehicle itself, that they just don't have a backup for. I think that's going to be the biggest risk, because everything else is the solar flares, the space environment. They've had 60 plus years of experience with all of the other missions to date, and they've been able to account for what they think the James Webb will have to survive.
Gotcha. Well, I think you guys gave us like a good wrap up of like everything going on with James Webb. I'm wondering, like, what are you hoping for it to accomplish over the next few years, few decades, and what do you think it'll lead to for NASA and for other space agencies?
I think, one of the big things I want to see from the images, and I was really surprised when I read the description of what they were hoping to do, is that the galaxies that we see today that we're all familiar with, these spiral galaxies, these kind of weird amorphous galaxies, that they might have had different shapes when they first formed, that the way that galaxies form now might be different than how it actually did in the beginning of the universe's kind of collection there. And I'm wondering what those are. Are they squares? Are they star shaped? Is it a pinwheel? Is it a three-dimensional type thing? I would really like to see one of that, like a really wild galaxy type, something new that we hadn't seen before. I like all that new stuff there. Swapna?
Yeah, I am just so curious about the early universe, the period of reionization. What did our universe look like as it was forming, and what can we learn about that? And so that's really, I want to see those earliest stars. I like Tariq. I want to see those earliest galaxies. I think I will be excited no matter what we see, because I'm just such a fan of seeing this stuff. But I'm really, really excited to see that earliest light.
I feel like I'm right there with you guys too, because I remember when I was a kid in elementary school, what I do is I'd go to the library and just check out all the space books and just spend a lot of time staring at the Hubble imagery and imagery, from earlier missions too. I could just imagine, like, if this thing was successful, like how it would inspire future generations. Looking at how people share bad space, like CG space photos, the like fake space imagery that always gets shared all over, Twitter and the internet. I can just imagine like how NASA could do if they had like really great, accurate imagery that could be shared out there and make people, I don't know, think about their place in the universe. That'd be nice.
Yeah. You scare a lot of people.
Sure.
You're like, it's so vast and empty out there. Vast. Okay. Oh no.
Thank you so much, Tariq and Swapna, for joining us to talk about this, and hopefully we'll get you guys back on. As we hit some James Webb milestones, hopefully 5 or 6 months, we'll get some actual imagery to talk about. Where can we find you guys on the internet these days, Tariq?
I'm at space.com. You can find me at Tariq J. Malik on Twitter, or at space.com, and at space.com on Twitter and Facebook and all of those things. So just keep looking up.
Cool. And Swapna?
I am on Twitter way too much at S Krishna. I'm on TikTok at Swapna_Krishna. And you can find me writing around the internet, cover Star Trek at StarTrek.com. I write about video games at Wired. So just kind of, I am everywhere.
Doing cool stuff. I have been really enjoying your TikTok, Swapna. So hopefully I hope you keep those up. They're a lot of fun. And TikTok is a great platform to I love it for bite-sized information like this. So
I'm really enjoying it.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
You guys end your recordings, by the way. Sorry. Let me just end your recordings. Ship those to Ben.
All right.
Do you guys want to stick around for any audience Q&As, or do you guys have to run?
I'm good. I have to run.
Okay, go for it. Thank you so much, Swapna. And I know you're super busy, so yeah.
Swapna, good to talk to you.
It was so good to talk to you.
Yep.
Oh my God. See you later.
Bye. Thanks for having me. This was great.
It was great talking to you. And I can hang out because I've got nothing else to do for a little
bit. Oh, yeah.
Great.
Let's hang for a bit.
Okay. So we've got one question in from Raj Lautha.
Luthra.
Who is Luthra, excuse me, yes. Reading stuff on the fly, always scary. But so Raj Luthra asks, what improvements would you like to see in a future JWST style telescope? Or let's expand that, Voltron style telescope.
Cameras. I want to see cameras. One of the saddest thing about this mission is that the last time we will ever see it was on December 25th as it left the actual rocket, and all we saw was kind of like the back end. We were able to see, and this was a surprise to the people that built it, we were able to see it deploy its solar array. And so that was a kind of a nice little thing. It happened a little earlier, but there are no onboard cameras to show you how the mirror deployed. All we could use is telemetry. And I think in an age where it's really visual, that was a surprise and a disappointment to a lot of people tracking the mission. They did try. They did try to figure out how to build cameras, but every time you add something new to a vehicle, now that has to withstand the cold and the heat that it's going to be exposed to, or the vibrations, and then how much does it weigh that we have to cut off some other part of the telescope. So that's what I would like to see, is a lot of that.
Yeah, in fact, when they were doing the secondary mirror unfurling, like they had really just a very slow like CG representation of where they thought the mirror was, versus, and I saw in like the YouTube chat replay, people were like, oh wow, is this live? This is amazing. No, sorry, it's a CG representation, don't actually have live images. Would that be a strain on like deep space bandwidth or something like that?
Yeah, so it would take bandwidth, communications bandwidth from the vehicle, especially if it's live. So they've focused a lot of their communications in the telemetry stream to make sure that what they were seeing on the computers was as close to real time as possible. There's always the delay for distance, and that would exist for any video as well. So they would have to build something a bit more robust. What we've seen with some other missions has been deployable cameras. And they looked at this too for James Webb, where they would have like a little video camera pop free and maybe fly around to show them what was going on, and then maybe come back and dock. But it adds complexity, it adds weight, it adds another thing to worry about when you already have 350 things to worry about. And so they thought they would play it safe.
I almost wonder, like, we are seeing a lot of companies deploy satellite internet, things up there. I wonder eventually if like we could have a way to, I don't know, push more bandwidth from space, right to Earth using some of those things. Is that anything you've heard about, Tarek?
Well, there is a large push now for communications, not so much kind of where James Webb is,
right.
But if there becomes a need to have many more missions like Webb at L2, then you could see what NASA is exploring for the Moon and for Mars, where you have a dedicated spacecraft that is now your relay spacecraft. China did this with their at the Moon, because they landed on the far side of the Moon where we don't have direct line of sight. So they built a relay satellite that is out past the Moon that they can bounce stuff off of over time. And NASA is looking at that for when they ramp up for crewed and other robotic missions to the Moon. They're going to want that kind of bandwidth increase. As well as at Mars too, for more Mars missions, because the more powerful cameras, the more powerful machines you land there, the more powerful communications you need.
Okay, we've got another question from Declan Flynn, who asks, if you were given a slot on the telescope, where would you point it?
Well, that's a really good question. Now, there's a series of planets in one of the nearest systems to us called Proxima Centauri, where we think there might be a habitable planet. Sometimes scientists say, yeah, we've confirmed that it's there. Other times they say, well, wait, the signal looks a little bit fuzzy, so we have to refine our estimates. That would be one place. I'd like to know for certain that the next star system over has a planet we might want to go to before we leave the solar system. And then there's the TRAPPIST-1 star, where there's this whole slate of planets that that we've seen over time, and just having so many planets in one place has always been an interest. I actually have a TRAPPIST-1 T-shirt here.
Is TRAPPIST just the one where like we saw this weird structure of things, right? Was that TRAPPIST-1 or was that another TRAPPIST?
No, that's the alien megastructure.
Right? Yeah. That
No.
was TRAPPIST. Yeah.
The megastructure, I believe, was Boygelin's star.
Okay.
But TRAPPIST-1 is where they have this whole set. I think there were 3 possible planets in the habitable zone, any one of which could have liquid water, which on Earth, where there's water, there's life. And with a telescope like this, you could look and say, yeah, there are clouds there. There's as Swapna mentioned, there's some weird ozone stuff going on. We don't know what that is. Having those questions answered with such a powerful telescope would, I think,
That's
really
exciting.
help out.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah,
we had another question. Yeah. We had another question. Tim C. Cambridge says, will the James Webb Telescope find more dark mass, wandering planets, dark suns, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, one of the big questions that scientists are hoping to answer, we talked a lot about the early universe, but one big question is what is out there that we can't see? And so by observing just that the earliest structures of the universe, the hope is that they'll get insights about what dark matter, this stuff that we can't see, we can only observe it by its effects on what we can see. And having such a sensitive instrument like James Webb, the hope is that it will be able to either better refine how much dark matter there is, or reveal new ways that we can track where it is and how much of the universe does it make up.
Gotcha. In terms of far off stuff too, I assume we'll be learning a lot more about black holes. I know there was talk about using black holes to help like lens further away things too. Like, what will we learn about black holes thanks to this?
I think we're going to learn a lot more about what they look like. Now we've just been able to see the first pictures of black holes using like the LIGO telescopes on Earth, and I think they're going to be following up a lot of that research with whatever with the types of capabilities that Webb has. It can see farther. The farther we see, the older objects we see. We could see early black hole development, how they form. They're not really black, which I always thought was surprising. They can see the heat coming off from the accretion disk around those as they form over time.
As we learned from Interstellar, which
I was about to say,
it was wild to me that the design of the black hole, I believe, like had like a lot of scientific backing, right? Like the movie gave us a glimpse of what we expected it to be like, and then science kind of confirmed it later a bit, right, Tarek?
That's pretty much it. It was really strange. When they took that first picture of I think it was M87, the black hole there, it looked a lot like what we saw in Interstellar, and not what we saw in the Disney black hole movie, which is my favorite early science fiction film.
I mean, it's fine. Yeah.
So I think what we're going to see is a better understanding of not just how black holes form from giant stars, but how these massive ones at the hearts of galaxies actually work, and maybe even I don't want to know if ignite is the right way, collapse, are born as those first galaxies coalesced from this ether of just particles that was there before the light came out.
Raj Luthra reminds me, actually, Kip Thorpe was involved in Interstellar, so like his modeling and his design was basically the thing proven to be true. Seeing that movie in IMAX, I think is probably the closest a lot of us will ever get to deep space travel and traveling to other planets. But man, I should go back and rewatch that movie. Got a question from Doug McGravian. Is there a maximum amount of devices that could fit in L2? And would putting more satellites in L2 mess with James Webb?
Well, there's a few things that are there now. I think I believe China has a spacecraft there, and there are some other telescopes that are out there, some older ones too. Now, as with Earth orbit, anytime you have more and more missions there, it can get cluttered. It's really not at that point yet. It's a pretty big space to orbit. But that, if we start launching bigger and bigger things that are more and more demanding, you're going to want to do it. I was hopeful that there might be like another spacecraft there that can look at James Webb.
Yeah.
But when we think of these points like the asteroid belt, you think about the asteroid belt, you're like, wow, it's this whole ring around the solar system filled with rocks. It really isn't. You're going to look around, you're not going to see anything nearby. L2 is going to be a lot like that too from these orbits that they calculate.
Gotcha. You had mentioned too, like pointing James Webb at things in our solar system as well. Like, is there, what within our solar system would you want to focus on? Like, for me, it'd probably be like Jupiter or Saturn's moons, which are just super interesting.
Yeah, Enceladus.
Yes.
The icy moon of. I'm going to get this. Enceladus of Saturn. I always get that in Europa at Jupiter mixed up sometimes. It has these really weird things. And NASA, actually, their Cassini spacecraft flew through it.
Yeah.
But at its south pole, it's like spitting out plumes of water, which is amazing that there's this place that does that, because we don't have huge geysers erupting from like the poles on our planet out into deep space. But the hope is that there might be organic molecules in there, basically the building blocks that life that we've seen on our own planet. And Webb is really equipped to see what that stuff is really truly made out of. Because when they sent Cassini there, they weren't expecting to see that stuff. So it's not really optimized to see it. James Webb with the infrared spectroscopes that it's got can actually see what's in that, what makes it up. And the same thing for the planets, the atmospheres of Saturn, of Jupiter, and Uranus. Basically, how those planets work, and what their weather, what their composition is like.
Interesting.
So one last question. So we've got the secret list of like wow images that we are eventually going to get once the mirrors are all aligned and everything. You said that since this is an infrared telescope, we can only really see or the pictures as they would come back to us would only be the reddest red, and then the rest of it would be on wavelengths that humans can't really see. How are we going to go about translating the scientific data into images that make people go, wow, like this was worth funding?
Yeah, well, NASA has a whole team that can take that data.
The viral influencer team at NASA,
into images. One of the things that I always thought was interesting is that a lot of the photos that you see from Hubble, may not be true.
They are also photoshopped.
Yeah,
basically, like Pillars of Creation, Horsehead Nebula. They are not as they would, as they originally came in. So
that's right. That's right. So they're not what your eye would see if you were kind of hovering there. What they do is they kind of amplify certain wavelengths so that they can see details in the structure. We're going to see a lot of that here. Pillars of Creation is a really good example. When Hubble looks at it, they see these huge, thick gas clouds that stand like pillars out in space. James Webb will be able to see through that to the stars behind them. So you might see faint, dark outlines of clouds, but within that you'll see the stars that are behind them. That the signal from that light, they can amplify that so that they can see that. What are those star structures like? How are they shaping the wind or the dust in these pillars? They'll be able to understand that a lot better. So we might see a lot of the same views that Hubble has done, but in a much different light than before. More detail, more structure, that kind of a thing. Pillars of Creation or the Eagle Nebula probably on my list of potential targets that are on NASA's short list. So it's just such an iconic image that NASA had created with Hubble.
I could just imagine like NASA has people like they're once maybe like they will definitely plan the PR moment, right, of these first images. Like maybe start with some blurry ones, like, hey guys, this is what we've got. Focus in a little more, and then end on like a big wow image. So that's gonna be very exciting. Yeah.
And there might be a new platform. You mentioned TikTok earlier. When the first photos of Pluto came down from the New Horizons mission, NASA did not post that on its website or on Twitter. It was on Instagram. When they announced that they had found ice on Mars from the Phoenix lander. They didn't announce that on their website. They announced it on Twitter. So whenever there's a new thing, then they announce it there. I'm not sure they'd want to test something new like TikTok or whatnot with James Webb. But the possibility is there that the way that they're going to release it might be a surprising and something new in 6 months' time.
Yeah, I was there. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, some folks did something at the Natural History Museum when New Frontier was it reaching Pluto, I believe. So I was there like up early for that, it was a weird thing too. Where like, hey, we don't know, we can't see. We're hoping it's getting to Pluto, and we'll do like a celebration and a timeline, but we can't see anything thanks to the cameras.
Nine hours we had to wait.
Yeah, 9 hours. Oh man. Cool. Let me just see. And we have some other questions, but I want to be
respectful of your
respectful,
time,
yeah.
especially because you came in on your day off. Everyone in the chat, thank you. Thank you, Tarek. Thank Tarek for coming in on his day off.
And go to space.com. Everybody.
Yeah, go to space.com and thank Tarek.
My favorite is how with today's guests, everyone that was on the podcast is someone I've worked with before. That was pretty cool. I was like, oh, Swapna, we like used to write for Engadget. Tarek and I used to work for the same parent company. It was great.
I can talk about space till the cows come home, and then I'll ask the cows about space, right? So,
well, you're launching a new podcast or something you're playing too, so people should keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Hopefully, we're going to start testing it out next week. So
cool.
I can share details on the Twitter when it happens.
Okay,
So.
Follow Tarek's Twitter, everybody, and we'll definitely have you back on soon to probably more about James Webb. Give it 4 or 5 months, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed that it all goes well.
Tarek,
Cool. All right.
I went back to Singapore recently, just so you know.
Oh yeah. I hope you ate enough chicken rice for me, because I have not been back in 2 years, and we all have withdrawal. So
I know.
So
I'm sorry,
my sister-in-law just bought a place there. So.
We'll talk, Tarek. We'll talk.
It is weird. I can get chicken rice delivered to me right now. I don't live near New York anymore, but it is like, it's weird that I couldn't get it in New York, or I couldn't get it in Brooklyn.
You can.
Not delivered.
I'll tell you
not
what,
where I was. Not where I'm talking
not
about,
delivered to you.
Being
Brooklyn,
lazy and getting it right to my house. I could do that right now. So anyway, thank you so much, Tarek. We will have you back on soon. Okay.
Thank you all.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
And Jess is going to be joining his link, I believe. So we will see how that goes, and we can just chat with the audience a little.
Yeah, we can chat with the audience, or I mean, I guess we could do working on, because working on will probably be less than 10 minutes. Depends on what you want to do.
No, let's chat. So then, because then we'll be rushed if Jess comes in a little early too.
So yesterday I went to the Apple Store to put my hands on my beloved, my future computer,
the 16-inch
M1, the M1 Pro 16-inch.
Yeah.
And looked great, looked incredible.
Feels good.
And I think it's going to look better once it's outside of that giant Apple Store space. It'll probably look more impressive, because it's hard to gauge 16 inches when you have 20 foot ceilings.
What you should do is bring your computer and put it right next to it, so you can see.
True.
Then you can see okay, this is what I'm paying for. Yeah.
True. I might do that, because I had a nice conversation with the guy who was helping me, and I said, I've got maybe a month left in my saving goal, because it's a lot.
It's a lot. Do the payment plan if you can, and I know nobody wants to be in debt and something, but especially if you're starting out and you need new hardware, folks, just don't.
I'm really close
with interest. Yeah,
I'm really close to the goal. Okay, Shirley, what did you spend money on?
No. Y'all can talk. I just got an email saying my hot water might be fixed. So I'm gonna go check right now.
Go check.
BRB.
Joan's just gonna jump in and jump back out. Yep.
First thing that I did was play around with the notch. I wanted to see how the mouse interacted with the notch.
It's fine.
And you know what? It's fine. It's not a big deal.
That's because the title bar in Macs, I've always hated the top system bar. So fine, make it space that you can't really use anyway. How are we doing? Chat room. We will have Jess on soon. We'll be talking about Microsoft and Activision. So lock in your questions around that. Because holy crap. Yeah. There's I'm still trying to wrap my head around this deal, and also when I was reviewing the Xbox Series X, I was like, Microsoft needs some games. They really need games to compete. And since then, what
if they had every single Call of Duty game? They had
everything. Man. And then they bought Bethesda and all that fun stuff. And
true.
Yeah.
My hope for Microsoft is that they can maybe tell Activision to chill a little bit. We don't need a Call of Duty game every single year, because I think that's probably not so great for innovation in terms of like gameplay mechanics, and definitely not good because
They don't
means
care
that
about
people
that.
are
They don't care about
basically
that.
in crunch all the time.
They care about the money machine. So
I
we will talk
understand
about all this
that.
stuff.
I understand
Are you okay over there? I see flashing red lights in front of you. What's happening? I'm seeing
Flashing
like
me?
maybe it's just artifacting from our
Yeah,
video thing. It looks like there are
think it
police
might
lights
be.
right behind you, like somebody's pulling you over for
No, I'm not.
podcasting too fast.
I'm not getting pulled over. What was it? There's that phrase going around. I want shorter games with worse graphics, made by people who are paid more to work less, or something. So
yeah, I mean that's the
similar.
utopia. That's the utopia. It'll be interesting to see. I think we'll talk about exclusivity and what all this stuff means for like the broader gaming landscape. And I don't know, will this deal actually go through? That's a lot of stuff we'll have to think about. Man.
My water is still freezing cold, but I think I just have to let it run for a bit more.
Yeah.
I'll do that later. Hands are
hands are chilly.
Yeah. I see your question, Doug. Doug is asking, are these acquisitions actually creating more value from devs? This is something we'll be diving into. It's something I'll hold on to chat about with Jess. But
I also saw a question at the start of our chat about how they wish that Microsoft. Jiming Chong asked that you're hoping the Microsoft acquisition will make Activision improve their gaming accessibility, which I think is a good point. I think Microsoft tends to be more aware of accessibility than most gaming companies are.
In general.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there, and we will talk about we've talked about Activision's terrible CEO and how this is a weird way for him to get a golden parachute and not face any consequences.
And try to avoid
chat. God.
Oh yeah. But right now we're just chilling, y'all.
We're just chilling. Go check out Jess' content. Jess did a great feature on us, about the Microsoft Activision deal. So go read that. Prep for our chat. We are just chilling out right now. Too many boss levels in gaming? I don't know. That's not me.
I haven't played
not
Dark
in the games
Souls
I play
ever.
You haven't played Dark Souls ever?
No, I haven't played Dark Souls ever, and when I think about boss levels, I think about that game now.
I mean, yeah, those are the ultimate boss levels, but also those are those are games that will have random normal enemies kill you and troll you for no reason too. I am not the biggest fan. We need to talk more about that stuff. Antitrust. George Morgan's asking about antitrust for this. I think the FTC was going to announce some new rules around mergers and stuff this week. I believe not much came out of that, but certainly the FTC is they're a little more aggressive now than they were for the past couple of years. So I guess we'll see, right? Like, wasn't the Sprint and T-Mobile merger was killed because it would have reduced competition too much. I don't know if that's necessarily true here, but the sheer size of it, I really want to hear what Jess has to say.
I don't know if it was killed. It was questioned seriously.
There was a lot of pushback, basically, and I think that was it. That was
right. It wasn't killed. Yeah. They went ahead and got all the Sprint spectrum anyway. You know what I mean?
So
Facebook's WhatsApp thing is being retroactively investigated.
We'll see.
Or was it Instagram? They know
WhatsApp
now.
Was the first. WhatsApp is the big one because that was 17 billion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whoops! I guess we should have not allowed that to go through. So more careful.
Talk about closing the barn door after the horses have gotten out.
All right.
Hi to Daniel Diaz.
I see Jess. By the way, I just want to confirm, Jess. Hello, Jess. How you doing? Can you talk? Can you make sure your audio's good? Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Oh,
I can hear you. I can hear your mic.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Julia's
gonna
to Daniel
set you
Diaz, who said that they're late. It's fine. You're here. You can always hit rewind.
Yeah, you can always just
Hit
click back in the
rewind.
video like you would with any other YouTube video. Bryant Mitchell says they're waiting for the Halo Overwatch crossover. I was talking about that yesterday. What was it? It was a pro Overwatch team, the Washington something. Let me look it up. The Washington Justice pro Overwatch team tweeted a picture of Soldier 76 with Spartan Armor on. I'd love to see that as a real skin rather than just
it's gonna happen.
promotional thing.
It's gonna happen, but also like I want Overwatch stuff in Halo. To be honest, like I have my Halo Infinite man now has a cat helmet. So
what if now Master Chief takes his helmet off and it's Tracer?
It's Tracer.
What a
real like
that would piss so many people off.
Yeah, Sherlin's like, what? Who?
It would be more who's the, because I've forgotten all the Overwatch characters' name, but big muscly lady with the laser gun.
Zarya.
Like she would fit the Master Chief armor like as
oh my gosh,
she's so
that
big.
Would be so sick. Her voice doesn't quite match though.
Yeah,
that would be. Maybe there's a modulator happening. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, she's a large Russian lady.
I love it though, because Master Chief is big. All the Spartans are big.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good to go, Julio, for Jess?
Looks like we are.
Okay.
Oh, let me record my audio.
Record your audio. Let's resync. So we're going to count down from 3. At the end of 3, we're going to clap or make a sound. Then we're going to do like a little bit of room tone. Let's say like 7 seconds because we're live. Chat, if you want to clap along with us,
and meditate.
That's always fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So counting down in 3, 2, 1. Silence. Okay, we're good, and so we can go into Microsoft and Blizzard whenever you're ready.
Okay. Let's move on to the biggest story of the week, and honestly, of the year, and maybe the decade. Microsoft announced that it's buying or plans to buy Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. So close to 69 billion.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like they're so close to being truly nice. But to dive into this and tell us what is going on here is senior editor Jessica Condit, who covers video games and Engadget. Hello, Jeff.
Hello. Yeah, this is big news. Let's talk about it.
Big news. And by the way, like Jess has written a piece for us in Engadget called "Microsoft Consolidating the Video Game Industry is Bad for Everybody," is bad for everyone. That is very clear just there. So be sure to read Jess's piece. But Jess, I have to ask, why is it bad for everyone?
Right. So, I mean, bad for everyone in this case means bad for both developers and for players. In my kind of extrapolation of how this plays out, this is a larger trend. There are large studios buying large publishers, large developers there, and all these studios are becoming consolidated under Microsoft or Sony or Tencent, Valve, whatever, all these big studios that can actually spend money. So I think it turns out poorly for everyone involved, because exclusivity deals are how the industry works, right? Like this is where competition comes from right now. It's Sony pays extra to have a game on only PlayStation consoles, or Xbox pays for just on Xbox consoles, or it's a limited release situation, all these things. This is how developers are able to advocate for their games, get some more money, get that pipeline rolling. So this kills that, because Activision Blizzard, who owns Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, World of Warcraft, massive franchises.
Yeah. King's Mobile Games, they acquired King a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yes, and that is huge for them. Mobile gaming is huge. People were surprised, like, oh, why'd they even mention King? It's a big part of their business plan. And it's going to be huge for Microsoft as well. They're very much into cross-platform within the Xbox ecosystem. So now, where Activision used to be able to kind of pitch Call of Duty to Sony and Microsoft and kind of figure out what will work best for Call of Duty as a game, now Microsoft is going to be in control of that. Does this mean that Call of Duty is going to be exclusive to Xbox platforms? Not right away. I don't think so. It's definitely going to give Call of Duty an edge on Xbox platforms. It's going to be the place to play these games. And eventually,
that's how things were like a decade ago, right? Like when Microsoft was the big Call of Duty marketing partner. It is also weird how it's not exclusivity, but the company that helps to market some of these big games, it used to be Xbox. And I think a lot of people has associated Xbox with Call of Duty, and then it switched over to Sony at some point. Now, I'm not sure if gamers even noticed. It's more of like a rep thing, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of that again. Xbox, Call of Duty is best on Xbox, right?
It kills that entire back and forth where it was Xbox, then PlayStation, and you didn't really know, and you were like, okay, where's the game going to be? Like, which, hey, that's maybe not the best way for players to be involved in the industry anyway, but I get it. But honestly, aside from like exclusivity shit, which is an issue, we'll deal with that though. Like the biggest thing for me is when these huge companies control basically the entire software development pipeline for mainstream games, they're all going to start to look the same. I know that these developers have some autonomy. They have some creative freedom like built into their contracts, but they're all reporting to the same bosses. They all come from the same corporate structure. They all have the same QA process, marketing routine. All these things are going to be the same, and that is going to impact development. When all of these studios are owned by one entity, they're going to start to feel stale. I truly believe that. I think we're going to see it. That doesn't kill the indie industry. The indie industry is still there, but this makes it harder for smaller games to stand out because there's so much money now behind these huge studios already. It kind of saturates the market.
Gotcha.
And indie studios are going to have to participate in a new way. It really changes the game. This is a new era.
On the flip side, though, I don't know if Activision has always been the best steward of these franchises either, right?
Absolutely not.
Activision has also proven to be kind of a bad company when it comes to corporate culture. We've talked about that, and around the CEO Bobby Kotick and everything. There is so much going on right now. Like, is this deal like the first thing I woke up Tuesday morning. I was off last week. We had Monday off as well for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So it's just like big, like I don't want to come back in. I see this news roll in, and I just like shoot up awake. Like I drank 5 coffees. It's like, holy crap, this is a lot of money. This is Microsoft's biggest deal ever. It is the biggest all cash deal in gaming ever, too. I believe like it is. Biggest deal in biggest acquisition in gaming. Also one of all in terms of all cash deals, I believe like one of the biggest ever in America. It is freaking huge and has like lasting impacts. And the first thing I thought is like freaking Bobby Kotick is gonna get like some sort of parachute out of this, and that is essentially it. Like he's gonna make hundreds of millions as this deal clears as part of this. I almost wonder like I've seen some reporting. We don't know how much of this is certain, but is Activision Blizzard's problems, it's tanking stock a little bit because of all these because of all the issues around Bobby Kotick. Was that one reason why Microsoft was like, let's just go now? This is the cheapest we'll ever get Activision, right?
Well, I think it's the flip. I think Activision, like you said, has not been a very good steward of these franchises, and Activision was looking to sell. I truly believe that. Yeah. And I think Microsoft was the only option they had. This is the only company in gaming in the Western world, I would say, that has the cash flow, has the network to actually buy Activision Blizzard, to spend $69 billion. Nice. And like that is something that Sony can't do. But like this is why this is so shocking. It's because of the size of this deal. It's like Sony is also buying studios. Absolutely. Like this is happening. This is not
Sony's
just
more
Microsoft,
piecemeal. So Sony's like, picking and choosing, like, oh, I'll take you. Microsoft was just like, I'm buying this entire store. Like, give me everything. Yes.
And we've seen how long Microsoft Studios, Xbox Game Studios, those games take a while to come out. Like, I don't know if this is exactly going to speed up the pipeline.
Well,
but hey, I do think Activision needs innovation. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, like it could mean certainly different leadership for the people at Activision. So maybe it's a better thing for them overall. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. The reporting around this, the announcement was that like Bobby Kotick will be sticking around with Activision as part of this deal, and then there was like other reporting from the Wall Street Journal that was like, he will leave. Like he will leave as soon as this completes, but he will get a lot of money because of that too.
He will leave in a golden parachute, and he is being rewarded for creating a culture of gender discrimination and sexual harassment at one of the largest studios in the entire world.
He'll face no consequence.
I think it's disgraceful.
Yeah.
Is money. His consequence is leaving and being rich forever. And I truly think that's gross. I think Microsoft should have done more there, but once again, like we were saying when we talked about the Activision scandal when it was breaking, Kotick's not going anywhere. He controls the board. He controls Activision. He is that studio, and this is just proof of that. Yeah.
The board supports him too, so I almost wonder if like this was the best possible outcome for them too, because they're like, well, we're not gonna fight our guy, you know, like what can we do?
This saves face for him.
Saves face.
It's gross.
So here's my question, which is if Bobby Kotick is going to leave with the golden parachute and everyone else that's staying behind, I guess, is supportive of him, do you think they're all going to leave after Microsoft takes over, or they're going to stay?
No one supports him.
Okay.
The developers the
board that were right, not the developers, but like the people that were on the board apparently didn't want to do anything about him, like penalizing or punishing him. Are those people going to work well with Microsoft then?
The board just tends to like disappear with an acquisition, right? Because you don't have multiple boards once you take in something.
I think
they no longer have shares or own, right?
I think
they get money. They get money for supporting a monster, basically.
So everyone there gets rewarded.
This is what they wanted.
Basically,
they're very, very happy right now. Yeah.
It
all
is
the
sort of
people
like
top are winning, and we're gonna figure it out. The rest of us,
it's like a mafia ring where you all win. Basically, like they'll make this mess, and the people up top will win everything. Let's talk about not great for video game culture, not great for basically rewarding Bobby Kotick. What does this mean more broadly for Microsoft? Because I saw some early headlines that was like Microsoft is preparing for the metaverse, and we all rolled our eyes. We're like, the metaverse doesn't exist. Like, just calm down. Gaming, like the gaming industry exists right now. It's really big, and I think that's the big thing here. Is this really all about Game Pass? Because that is kind of where I'm landing on it, right? Like, it is, to me, it seems like Microsoft's just like, Game Pass is already the best deal in gaming. How about all of your favorite games from Activision? You know, how about Call of Duty being immediately available on Game Pass day one? Whereas maybe they'll continue to sell it on PlayStation, but those suckers got to pay $60 for it, you know? Exactly. Or maybe I think the thing I kind of envision more is like the free Warzone Call of Duty, like the free multiplayer will probably continue to be everywhere, just kind of like how Microsoft sells Minecraft everywhere, because it is better to have better to have it available widely. But maybe the single player or other like more innovative things are just like, you got to come to Xbox for that. If you want the campaign, you have to come to Xbox. I've also heard people talking about like, would Microsoft try to push Game Pass to other companies, right? Like Sony is struggling. What if Microsoft was just like, hey buddy, let Game Pass be on your platform. We will pay you a lot of money for that, and everybody wins. I don't know what that possibility is either.
Well, Sherlyn, what do you got there?
No, I'm just like, I don't think Microsoft would do that. It's a short story.
Okay, so Sony and Microsoft are actually partnering on cloud gaming already. Sony is signed up to leverage Microsoft's cloud network for its own kind of like cloud and streaming services. So in terms of Microsoft trying to expand Xbox Game Pass to PlayStation, that seems a little far-fetched to me. Maybe one day, but Xbox has. Yeah, no, you're right. And this is what I mean by this is a new era. Like, we're just seeing it. This has already been in progress. This has been happening, but now this is a very public show of, we're in this new era where consolidation is the game. We're going to start seeing these platforms diverge, but also come together in ways that we didn't expect. So I think clearly Microsoft is focused on Game Pass and bringing the Xbox ecosystem to as many platforms as possible and connecting them all, through cloud gaming and through all these connections. I mean, maybe one day they would try to sell
what if
Sony
it was like
on Game Pass, but what would
if it was
Sony get out
only
of that?
first party stuff? Like forget about all the third party stuff on Game Pass. What if like Microsoft was just like, yeah, hey, we will bring first party Microsoft titles to Sony via Game Pass or something, or even to Nintendo, because it seems like anything is possible at this point. Nintendo's already like pushing cloud gaming for like a couple
They're
cross-platform.
Right?
Yeah,
they're into cross-platform. Sony doesn't like cross-platform, so that's why I'm a little like Sony. I don't know. Sony is on a very different path than Microsoft. They are still collecting studios. They just don't have the buying power that Microsoft does. They're just on a different trajectory, and Microsoft is very focused on the future. This is part of building that ecosystem future that Microsoft wants. And it feels like, I was cheering Microsoft on when they bought, Bethesda and all the 5 studios before that. I was like, sweet, they're building up an internal repertoire. It's great. But this is something different. Activision is something different. Yeah.
It is. I mean, this is, I think in my lifetime, like one of those big pieces of gaming news that will fundamentally change the landscape of like what this industry looks like moving forward. So people pay attention to this if you don't normally care about like business news. Sometimes it's important, especially when it will completely change the tides of a whole industry. Jess, we are hearing that Sony is working on something, right, to like revamp PlayStation Now, make something into like a Game Pass alternative. What is going on there? And you point out like, they're just very different things, right? Like what Sony does is basically pour a lot of money into like big single player AAA campaigns, right? Like things that look really pretty, things that look like blockbuster movies, whereas Microsoft is just trying all sorts of different things right now, and I feel like hasn't really landed on an identity as a publisher. But like, what is Sony doing versus, to take on Game Pass at this point?
Well, they're definitely not revamping the Vita, which will forever be a tragedy in my mind. And maybe there'll be a video or article coming up about that soon. We'll see. So Sony is on a very traditional console upgrade cycle path, right? Like the PS5 is clearly just the next generation of the PlayStation console line. It's powerful. It's incredibly beautiful. It can power amazing games. And then they have their internal studios, and they're delivering, beautiful first party games. This is just how it's been done. Sony has dabbled in, PlayStation Now, cloud gaming. Back in the day, they were the first ones, like with Gaikai. They were trying to really bring cloud gaming to the masses, but the network was not there. Yes, remember that? Remember Ouya? Just on a tangent. Ouya.
I have one. It's right behind me. Yeah.
I love that. And then, then Sony had like the PS Vita TV, which was like kind of like a micro console. There were things they could have done. Either way, Sony is very kind of stuck in this traditional rut, it feels like, and they're a little scared to innovate is how it feels.
Sounds like Sony.
I don't know if I know, right? And I don't know if they have something cool planned around cloud gaming, because if they are partnering with Microsoft, we haven't heard what they're doing with that technology that they apparently have access to now. So maybe there is something coming, and it could really turn the tides for Sony. But they need to engage in this ecosystem fight that's happening, This
reminds me, so last year I wrote a piece called "Can Sony Reclaim Its Former Glory?", which was all about Sony used to be the market leader for consumer electronics. They used to be the Apple of the world, and then Apple came and kind of stole their lunch. But a large part of that is because Sony also refused to innovate in the 90s, right? Like for decades, Sony had the best CRT televisions. They had the Trinitron screen, and they kind of owned that market. And then in the 90s, people started like dabbling in LCDs and flat panels, and Sony was like, nah. We're not gonna deal with that for a while. And that came back to bite Sony in the butt come like the 2000s, when the move to HD TV was happening. Sony was overinvested in CRTs. Sony didn't have enough, was not ready to move to HD flat panel TVs, and that hurt them forever. So sure, you see Sony TVs out there now, but they're not the market leader. That's TCL. That is like a lot of the companies that kind of started young and fresh and were able to produce these things more cheaply with more like innovation than Sony was. And You know, when I wrote that article, I don't know if I told you guys this, but Sony PR like called me that morning. It was like, "Hey man, what's up with this?" And I'm like, "Show me the lie. Show me the lie, Sony."
Do you have a
And
correction?
yeah,
Then-
no. Are
They
your
actually
feelings
called
hurt?
you?
Yeah, they called
That's
me, and I was
funny.
like in the middle of a video shoot. I was like, no. You're like, yeah, it's there.
I never
it's more
answer my
like
phone.
their feelings were hurt,
Yeah.
and also I asked
Yeah.
for them to talk about that article, and they
Right.
didn't want to talk at that point. So anyway, but it
Interesting.
does seem like that is the thing for Sony, right? To like get to a point where they're kind of a market leader, they're doing really well, and then when it comes time to like change and innovate and be different, sort of like what Game Pass is doing. Game Pass is a subscription. You pay a pretty low monthly fee. You pay a monthly fee, and you get access to tons of games, hundreds of games,
Mhm.
day one access to first party titles. To me, the whole idea of buying a physical, like buying a game, just doesn't make sense anymore when Game Pass is
Yeah.
around. I found myself waiting on PC titles and things I wanted to play until it hits like Game Pass, because why spend that $60 unless it's for a developer I really love or like an indie developer that I fully want to support.
Mhm.
The economics of buying new games at full price just doesn't make any sense anymore. And Sony, like, if things continue this way for the next 5 years, I don't know how Sony can keep asking people to do that, basically. Yeah.
Well, and like even in terms of innovation and what you're talking about, even in the PS4's life cycle, like PS3, PS4, PS5, Sony was like kind of stole the indie crown from Xbox back in the day.
Yep.
I wrote an article about how Sony has just lost the indie market. I think it was E3 2018. It's on Engadget.
Mhm.
And it's where Sony was killing it with indie games. We were like, it was just hands down, Microsoft dropped the ball, Sony was killing it, and then Sony just stopped.
Mhm.
And it's like, why? You
Why?
had something
Same
that
with the
everyone
Vita.
loved.
Like, you have this
Yeah,
thing. Why? Stop.
Why stop? Like we were loving it. Why would you just totally
Mhm.
abandon this? But it comes down to, it looks like fear. On the
Mhm.
outside, it looks like fear of trying something new and really going all in on a new idea.
Mhm.
So that sucks.
I think the best response to this that I saw on Twitter was basically like, after this, it was Sony's reaction to the Activision Microsoft deal was a picture of James Franco from Spider-Man and his line saying, "All I have now is Spider-Man." Like, that's basically,
I did
that's
not
it.
see that. That's hilarious.
That's
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
What is keeping Sony afloat is
Demon's
Sony
Souls.
Pictures and Demon's Souls, but PlayStation is a big part of Sony's revenue, and Spider-Man, Sony Pictures is doing really well. But that's beyond it. Beyond that, like that is kind of what is keeping that company afloat.
Yeah.
We kind of like dismissed the idea of the metaverse early on, but I do want to say, like,
yeah.
having more developers is not a bad thing. If Microsoft had more teams and more like bodies, would Halo Infinite have had a full year delay? I do think like things like that, prepping Microsoft to push things out maybe faster without crunching people too much, or at least being more efficient about how it can build these things and being ready for, I don't know, what's coming next, the VR world. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I got to push back on that. I think bigger means slower. Bigger is slower.
Could
Straight
be.
up. Like we've seen
red
this.
tape.
I don't know. Yeah,
It's
like Activision has figured out a way to churn out Call of Duty every year because they have 3 different studios working on the games in cycles. But where's the innovation? Those games have been stale for years. It's like there's, it's slow and, slow and fast and whatever you can pick 2 of the 3. I don't think big is necessarily gonna mean that games are coming out faster. I really don't.
It was just a cursed project to begin with. Like, it was like start and stopped and like had creative reboots, and we're seeing like there's a lot of story elements that are still like in the game that they just kind of just never touched on. So it's just one of those things. I do wonder, like, if they threw more bodies at it, could it be better, or could it be more complete? But probably not.
That game already has the most bodies on it and the most money. But
bodies.
it's the thing. It's like when something gets that big, how do you be creative in that space when you have 50 people checking everything and changing everything and making it look exactly the same? That's how it goes. Yeah.
My other question for you
Microsoft
too.
is now Disney, so there you go.
Microsoft is now Disney, but you know what? In that vein, so there's a certain like corporate homogenization there in terms of creativity. But meanwhile, you know what? I really like The Mandalorian. I just started watching the Book of Boba Fett, right? And I think in a normal IP environment, there's no room to tell these like just really small stories about kind of like minor characters with big budgets, like expand it. Like these shows look like movies, right? They have the full weight of Disney behind it. So I do wonder, like, what do you think? Like, there's any positivity to come from Activision stuff being under Microsoft? Like, if a developer doesn't have to worry about selling a certain amount of copies, if like Game Pass is their primary delivery module, does that leave more room for creativity to take wilder chances rather than, you know, give up in a game if it's not going to sell much?
Wilder chances according to a very strict marketing schedule. You know, it's like the way, even with Riot stuff, like all the League of Legends stuff that just launched, exciting, cool, but God, it feels like Riot, doesn't it? Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like Arcane is cool. So I'm drawing comparisons.
Yep.
Just because it's on top of my mind. Arcane is cool. So what if we saw something like that? But we're already getting a Halo TV show. I don't know if this benefits the whole. Yeah, I know. I don't know if this benefits necessarily the creative process. I truly don't. I hope that there is more money for cool, weird stuff. But I honestly will always believe that that's going to be in the independent market. That's going to be outside of these corporate structures. I bet we'll get some amazing games with cool mechanics, and you know, they'll use features of the consoles that are very, very interesting. But I really think that the future of games is in the independent creative market. I really do. I will always believe that. And this is antithetical to that. So I think that's why I kind of I don't feel great about it. Yeah.
I fully hear you, Jess. And you know, I guess we will see. There's still a lot we don't know about this deal. Microsoft says it's expected to close. It has to get through regulatory approval, which is a thing we will continue to track. But if everything goes smoothly, they don't expect it to close until like the middle of 2023, which is, I believe, like the end of their fiscal year. So there's like a long runway to this thing. It kind of has to go through a lot of approval to get there. And I think given the current landscape of mergers and acquisitions in the US, like, there's really not much stopping it. I know the FTC has been talking about having stricter rules around this stuff, but they haven't really shown teeth yet, you know? So we will see what happens. This could end up not happening at all, but I think based on the industry so far, like, there's really nothing stopping Microsoft here. And I hope this doesn't mean like ultimately bad things for the video game industry overall, because you know there is a lot of consolidation happening. This is just like the biggest, this is like throwing a huge boulder into the small pond of like the gaming industry right now. So this is gonna have rippling effects for many years. Jess, anything you want to add? Like, what are you going to be keeping an eye on? What are you looking forward to you know, hearing more about this deal? I
do want to say, I don't think this is the end of video games as we know it. You know, this is not the death knell of the industry. It's a big change. And that's really all I'm kind of responding to here. This is a very big deal. It is going to change how business is done in games. The business has already changed. This is just the public facing effect of it. Looking forward, I'm looking for Overwatch 2. I don't care how it happens. I want it.
How long have we been waiting for Overwatch 2? And now imagine like it'll take so long that Overwatch 2 will be a Microsoft production. We did not see that coming when that game was announced.
I know I have to I play on PS5, but I'm switching to Xbox now. I'm going to get my rank on my Xbox up because that's where all the good stuff's going to be now.
There's no shared rank at this point for Overwatch?
Oh, probably if I linked my accounts somehow, but I have 2 different accounts already, so I just...
When was Overwatch 2 announced? I can't even...
like 3 years ago, I swear. Yeah, I swear. 2 or 3 years ago.
And between the issues, the issues they've had, and all we hear is delays and like changing what that game will be. Microsoft will be the Overwatch and World of Warcraft and Call of Duty and Halo company.
Diablo,
that is just... wild. And Diablo. Just wild to think about.
In terms of Diablo, like they have mobile ambitions too, right? And I think this entire deal with Xbox being, you know, cross-platform, really on mobile devices as well with the cloud, and Game Pass and all that. It's like
Yeah.
there's a lot. It makes a lot of sense.
We didn't talk much about
yeah.
this, but yeah, Microsoft has like very little presence in mobile gaming. Like aside from like Minecraft being out there, they did try Minecraft Earth as that AR project, and that died because of the pandemic. I hope they bring that back, and maybe I don't know. Maybe we will see what else happens. Microsoft will also own King. It's just
right.
Just
King is everywhere.
King is everywhere. King is what people are playing on their phones all their time, thanks to Candy Crush and everything. So, anyway, we will be keeping an eye on the story. Thank you so much, Jess, for breaking it down with us. Where can people find you on the internet these days?
On Instagram, Jess L. Condit, and Twitter, Jess Condit. I'll see you there.
Let me do a full wrap. Thank you so much, Jess.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
I
see.
think
We've got a lot of comments, but
we've got a lot of comments. Yeah,
I'm sure
let's talk
people
about
have
it a bit.
very many thoughts.
Yeah, it's a lot of people talking about the prospect of like Activision Blizzard games going exclusive. The thread that I was following most is the prospect of Activision Blizzard games going exclusive on Xbox, and I was saying like, why would they even do that? Like, do they not like free money? And then Dev said the smartest idea, which is that you'll probably have something like Warzone on all platforms, and then a deeper thing on Xbox, and that'll get you all of the stuff that you would want, so you can continue to get those microtransaction money or that microtransaction money through the Warzone style platform. Do you think that's accurate, Jess?
The same thing happened with Bethesda, by the way, right? Like we were speculating, like, will all these things be exclusive? And Microsoft slowly changed their language to be like, probably better if it's just with us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Like Bethesda with Elder Scrolls 6, at first it was like, we're looking to support all platforms. We love it. And a year later, Phil Spencer's like, it's probably just going to be on Xbox. Sorry. So, yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah.
I honestly.
I don't think there was an actual question.
Well, it was
right?
mostly, just talking about exclusivity on Xbox.
I think it's going to happen. I do think that Xbox will leverage the power it has. It's a company. It's a very successful, large company. They're going to do that.
And Sony does
I don't think it'll be right away.
Yeah. I mean, these games will be Microsoft games, and Sony is not putting out their major franchises on other platforms right now. Although now they're slowly being like, maybe PC. I don't know. They have to. I need to play God of War on PC because I just need to play that game with a better refresh rate.
Yeah, it'll happen.
And then I just want to talk shit about the metaverse for a second. Just the way people are talking about the metaverse, because I think, let me see if I can bring up that Ian Bogost tweet.
Always good.
I love Ian. Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. It's almost loaded. Okay, between Facebook and this, I guess metaverse just means video games with some added extra abuse. Like, yes, kind of. The thing that really frustrates me about how people are talking about the metaverse right now is that it's so not developed that what you really mean is a ever-changing multiplayer experience where your character can have skin where they're wearing Yeezys, basically. Where like Balenciaga or any of these other like high-end fashion retailers can be like, oh yeah, I guess we'll do a partnership and pay this game company a lot of money so that 15 hype beasts can get a skin wearing like a huge puffer jacket or something. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah. That's the metaverse. The metaverse will exist to sell us stuff. I don't know how else to put it. Like
that's what happens with microtransactions, right? Yeah. Once they can make money in new ways, they're going to try to make money. I think Rami Ismail had a good like pushback to that too. It was like, that's fucking hard, guys. Like, you know how hard it is to make things cross compatible, but that was Facebook's initial pitch. Like, you buy a thing and it follows you across different things.
This is a long-term
platforms.
goal.
Yeah.
The metaverse, as people are talking about it, like, yes, we can all kind of picture what it might be, but it's going to take a little bit to get there. Like, this is not, so
we're still
I'm not
quite
really
far
concerned.
from it.
We don't even know what it is truly. Like,
we
understand how it's going to work ish, but like, come on, like, why is everyone throwing around this word? Stop.
Yeah.
Because
there are
Zuck
things.
mentioned it last year. That's it.
I know, I can't. Like,
and they changed their name, so that is a big signifier. Next week on this podcast, by the way, I'll be talking with the director of We Met in Virtual Reality, which is a movie entirely documentary, like kind of shot entirely in VR chat. I think VR chat is probably the closest we have to like what that idea of the metaverse is. I don't know. There is some, like, people are making real relationships there.
We'll get to talking more about the metaverse, not only later in this episode when we're talking about working on, but we're also going to talk more about it next week when we talk more about Sundance, especially the New Frontier project.
I can't talk fully about that movie yet, but it is a thing. You can go watch the trailer now to see what it looks like. Cool. Right. I think we should probably wrap and like finish the rest of the show, but thank you so much, Jess. Shoot, Ben, your audio, please.
Stop your recording. Send it to me.
Let me stop it.
And thanks for being on. We're gonna have a 5-speaker episode. That's pretty cool.
Sorry about this edit.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot to edit, but
busy week.
We'll get through. Yeah, that's not so bad.
Right.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much,
Bye,
Jess.
hon.
Have a good one.
See you later.
All right. Thank you, chat room, for sticking with us. We are just gonna wrap things up. No room for other news
we've got
this week.
2 segments, and then
we've got a bunch of stuff.
Speaking of, there was a bunch of other news, but we really just don't have time this week.
Yeah. Maybe next week.
Maybe.
There's too much stuff. Okay, I will throw it to you first, Sherlyn. Okay, and
Sure.
you could go ahead and introduce this. How about that?
Okay. Moving on to what we've been working on. I just got back from time off, so there's a lot of catching up that I've been doing, but things are already going to ramp up. Devendra, you and I are both checking out Sundance, which is kicking off today as of this recording officially, but we've been doing press previews and whatnot. And then there's events coming up that I can't tell you, but I'm doing a lot of preparation for. Mobile news, let's just say, is about to heat the F up. So we're going to
stop.
Get ready for all of that.
Yeah,
I know.
Do we know anything about Mobile World Congress yet? Like, it would probably still be fully virtual.
I've been getting the pitches. Apparently there's some sort of show going on, whether it's a hybrid, fully virtual, in person only, which is a stupid idea, show. We don't know yet, but I know that I'm not planning on traveling yet. But we will definitely cover the news as they get to us so that you guys or gals or individuals can also keep updated with the news. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up to prep for.
Yep. I mean, same deal, pretty much. Like, I'm focusing on Sundance. Basically, Sherlyn and I are splitting up like what we're gonna chase after on Sundance. But I have seen the movie We Met in Virtual Reality, so you could go check out the trailer for that. We're gonna have an interview with the director next week on this podcast, so stay tuned for that. I found it to be really fascinating, but we'll talk more next week, and keep an eye out for a written piece at Engadget as well about that.
Oh yeah.
And there are a bunch of movies at Sundance I'm really excited for. No like major releases, but I'm always like open for like big surprises. Like, that's the best thing about
they
Sundance.
always surprise us about at Sundance with like last minute additions. Like the Nicolas Cage film Pay the Devil last year was just thrown on suddenly. And then
Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Oh yeah, sorry, yes, that one. What was that?
It was kind of thrown on a little lever. There was another one. Maybe that was another.
There was a Japanese one that I'm thinking.
That was Prisoners of the
one
Ghostland.
Okay.
And it was fine. That was not the best Nicolas Cage movie last year.
Nope, not
Whereas
at all.
Pig was fantastic. But
I haven't seen that one. Oh, okay.
You should watch Pig. Everybody should watch Pig. That's what we've been working on. I want to hear about your pop culture picks, Sherlyn.
Yeah. So, okay. During my break, I was able to catch up with a lot of shows, and one of them was Eternals. I finally got to see Eternals. I enjoyed it.
I feel like
I
this is
have
a
a
movie
lot of-
better on a big screen, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I as with most Marvel movies, I enjoyed it. I didn't have many bones to pick other than I think it was a little kind of all over the place. But
Mhm.
then you have a show that's an ensemble cast of like 10 people. It kind of is like hard to be too focused anyway. I thought Rob Stark was great. I also thought
Rob Stark and Jon Snow, both in
and
the
Jon
same
Snow.
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
I was like, love that they were both trying to date the same person. Great.
Name Cersei, the same person named Cersei.
And also exactly
We
name
can't-
Cersei.
we
I was
cannot-
like, this is so Game of Thrones. What are you doing to me?
It's like
and then
culture
Train
is
to
so
Busan.
small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, first of all, they all borrowed names here and there. What? I was just like having a very big Game of Thrones moment. Rob Stark was basically Superman, but they said the word Superman maybe once or twice in the show itself. And then that was
Superman
all they were
as a
gonna
DC
do.
Comics character exists in this
Exactly.
Marvel movie too, which is also weird.
But as an Eternal,
I think
guess.
the joke is that Superman was
Oh.
secretly based on this character, like the legend
Or-
of this character. Yeah.
right, the legend of him or whatever version of him exists in that world, whether it's fictional or not, because they never really say. The kid just goes like, I see you on TV, or like whether it's a comic character or whether it's a real life in-universe hero like the Avengers are. You know what I mean?
I think the whole point is that
Um,
it is supposed to be like just like a comic thing. I will say
Yeah.
this movie has a lot in common with the Old Guard, which I don't know if
Oh
you saw
yeah, I
first.
have seen that one.
And I think the Old Guard is a better
Charlize
movie.
Theron.
The Charlize Theron movie, and that is a
Yeah.
better movie about
It's a
basically
very
timeless
different movie.
timeless warriors that have existed for hundreds, potentially thousands of years,
Yeah.
you know, and have been in all of our conflicts and have basically superpowers.
Well, but
yeah,
I mean, the Old Guard didn't turn into Moana at the end, so like it was kind of,
This
you know what I
turned
mean?
into
Like, it's a full on became like I'm watching a cartoon right now. Like, what's
oh
going
yeah,
on?
you're watching an MCU
Um,
movie. There has to be a big
ye-
CG monster and
Huge
lasers.
CG, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my god, I mean Shang-Chi was the same. Two quick shout out. I love Gemma Chan or however
Mhm.
she pronounces her last name in this one. And I guess Don Lee is his name in English name.
The guy from
I
Train to
know
Busan.
him-
Yeah,
exactly. I know him better
he
with by his
of the great
Korean name.
arms in Train to Busan.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I also really appreciated the deaf character. I can't pronounce her name, Makart or
Mhm.
something. You know what I mean? I can't get all their names right.
Mhm.
But I like that. You know, seems like a lot of the actors learned some sign language for
Mhm.
this role. Kumail Nanjiani was incredibly like just hamming it up. I think for the camera the whole time. I felt
Yeah.
like that was the thing. Anyway,
Worst Bollywood sequence, like worst attempted.
I did not
Bollywood
enjoy the
sequence.
Bollywood thing. I was just like, it
I
just
don't-
feels kind of forced.
I started to wonder if it like that was the point, if it was supposed to be kind of like bad, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he had
Yeah.
that face with the one eyebrow cocked the entire time, sort of
Mhm.
thing, where I felt like it was definitely like hamming rather than
there's
actual.
maybe we'll have spoiler talks for this at some point, but I do not like that my boy Kumail just disappeared at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah,
for no reason.
oh yeah. I did think that Harish Patel, I believe, was really great in it.
And
He was Kingo's valet.
Yeah, he plays that character in a lot of different movies, so
It-
he's funny.
yeah.
Funny guy.
I mean, it's a role he's well suited and comfortable with, so that's great. And Angelina Jolie, obviously. So, but anyway, yes. So I saw Eternals, liked it, didn't hate it, thought it could be better maybe, but
Mhm.
honestly, it was a fun ride. But my real recommendation, and if you follow me on Twitter, you will know I've been enjoying Archive 81. It's
What?
a Netflix show based on a podcast series. Why? What, Devendra? And I'm nervous.
I'm just like wondering, like, of all the things that you could be watching right now, you
Ooh,
go
why
to
not?
Archive 81. Okay, go on.
Have you heard
Please
of
go
it?
on. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
So
Go
I
on.
liked it because I liked it. Well, I will say I love and hate it. The problem is that I hate so much about it that I can't really like rewatch it too much. But I really like a lot of elements of it that I'm like itching to watch it again and again. This is a show about the protagonist is an archivist, and he's hired to restore some damaged old tapes that a grad student recorded as her dissertation project back in 1994. These tapes were destroyed in a fire that took down a building called the Visser in, I believe, New York, and it's a fictional building. And throughout the process of restoring, he learns about this person. He learns about some very supernatural, hinky goings on at
this is
building.
a horror show, to be clear.
It's a horror
right?
show based on the
yeah.
occult. It's everything I love. Very supernatural. There's like it's I love it. I love it. Was Exorcist meets, I don't know.
But you also hate it, apparently.
But I hate it for a few reasons. One, so the sound design is awesome in this. There's one tune that is featured in the show that really just grabs, like, just settles into your brain and just sticks there. I love it. I can hear it in my head right now. I hate that one of the sort of main guest stars is a rat, and the rat's name is Ratty. Like, I don't need to see a rodent on TV, and I don't want to hear the squeaks. So that's one of the things I hate about it. The other thing is the female protagonist. I didn't enjoy her acting very much. Dina is her first name. I forget her last name. I'm sorry.
Shahabi.
She does a very good job, but I feel like parts of it are kind of overly intense. And also, it's just the writing is kind of weak in the sense that every character says fucking or fuck a little too much.
I mean, this is a show based on a podcast, right? So it's also sort of
the
like
podcast is miles better.
The Roots,
yeah. The podcast is really good. And the podcast creator was involved in the production of this series, so that's great. But I went and listened to the podcast after watching the show, and I realized it was just a lot richer. It just had a lot more time to develop the story, whereas this one, it was just trying to do a lot at once. It was good enough, though, to get me like very interested to learn more about this world and this lore that they've built. So anyway, if you're into horror and that sort of stuff, Archive 81 is, you had to put up with some quirks here and there. If you don't hate rats, you're better off than I am. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's a great story.
Okay, great. I will probably check this out eventually. It's just there's so much other stuff, Sherlyn. So many other things to watch, including Station 11, which finished its season. Probably is going to be its only season. But yeah, it's a limited series based on an adaptation of the book. I talked about this before. I believe it's a post-apocalyptic story about a flu that kills like 98% of the world's population. And what it's really about is about how society sort of recovers from it. So I do want to say it starts really strong. The first episode, a lot of people told me like, I don't really want to watch a like violent pandemic thing right now. And I totally get that. I think the first episode is the most triggering one, because that's the one where people start to discover what's happening and they go into lockdown. They kind of do their things. And you see all the parallels from basically what we've gone through over the last few years. But then it is also a time hopping show that kind of goes back and forth in the timeline, like 20 years later, to see how like society's rebuilding after this, and kind of flashes back a little, sort of like Lost. It focuses on a basically a troupe of actors who go around and just do Shakespeare, because that is like that is one way to survive in the end times. It's just like let's hold on to the bits of culture we have and tell stories and try to like find humanity in the stories we've always told. I love that idea at the beginning of the show, and every single episode of the show just like gets more and more interesting, and it is so well written, it is so well acted, and basically the entire back half of the show I was just a bawling mess, because it's very emotional in terms of like how people respond to the end of the world, and also in terms of like what these characters go through. And I feel like we can all relate to it right now. Like, hey, me dragging my family from New York to Georgia to like be in like supposedly a safer place, or at least to have like an environment that's different from New York. I feel a lot of that, and I feel like the way our lives have been reshaped, and the way like we've have come to terms with the new world, and we're still dealing with the virus. There is so much to hold on to here, but I think the overall like message from the show is really hopeful and positive, and like is like, maybe humanity will survive thanks to the stories we tell each other, and we will support each other, when we can. Like, maybe it's not all doom and gloom, even if everybody's dying all around us.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's the takeaway I had from it. So I think it's really worth watching. I think you'd like it, Sherlyn. And it is also like, yeah, it's deeply emotional. Like it is like, it makes you care about these characters. So I'm going to be reading this book. I've heard the book. I've heard the show.
Oh, I saw the
is
book.
even
Yeah.
better than the book. So
Oh, really? Wow.
I'm going to go back just kind of see like what the like where this world kind of began and what the deeper structure of it is. But I really loved it. This is on HBO Max, so definitely worth checking out. I also wanted to bring up something a little lighter, a little more fun, and that is Peacemaker, the new show, also on HBO Max, starring John Cena. And I have to say, like, I took my time getting to the show because I was like, first of all, I love James Gunn. I am not as into like the DC universe at this point, and I like James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, but I also think Peacemaker did something a little unforgivable. I'd say like something that's really, really bad for a character like that. And the show kind of reckons with that. Like, it starts with him basically spending 4 years in jail for what happened in the Suicide Squad, but also in him basically being let down and betrayed by the country, and him like reckoning with the fact that he is kind of a crappy dude. Like he has killed people that probably he shouldn't have killed, and he is kind of reckoning with that. This show is really funny. It's really profane. Like one of the like opening sequences is like him just talking to a janitor, and the janitor is played by Rizwan Manji. I believe he was on the Daily Show at some point. And the janitor's like, "Yeah, you're that racist superhero, right? You're the one that only kills brown people." And then Peacemaker's like, no, I just kill people that do wrong. And the janitor's like, no, like, you're paying attention to the brown people, therefore you are killing more of them because that's where your focus is. And Peacemaker's like, yeah, okay, I will pay more attention to other people, so I kill, proportionately. And it's this great back and forth of like a character who is kind of a mess, and a character who is he's an anti-hero because he believes in justice at all costs. This show is really funny. I think that's the main thing. It introduces really cool characters. I think the entire cast is really strong, including Danielle Brooks, who I believe she was on Orange is the New Black. This show is a better James Gunn project than Suicide Squad is. And I think that's the main reason I dig it. It is allowed to be weird, it is allowed to be profane and super violent. And even though Suicide Squad was like an R-rated movie, I feel like it was still constrained a little, and felt a little forced. Whereas the personality of the show is a lot of fun. So if you want something that is just like fun and profane and silly, and you get to see John Cena like having a huge fight in his tighty whities, this is really a masterclass. It is John Cena being a really great comedian and a really great like leading star. So he is a lot of fun in this. It's definitely worth checking out. This is Peacemaker on HBO Max. I think it's worth a watch. Okay. Wrap us.
Yeah. Once you've studied your table, Sherlyn, you can hit that outro.
All right. Well, that's it for the episode this week, everyone. Thank you, as always, for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Ellman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, and I chat about movies and TV at the Filmcast at thefilmcast.com.
If you will promise never to tweet me about rats, I'm at Sherlyn Lowe on Twitter. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts, including Spotify.
Hey, we're done.
We're done.
So, Sherlyn, I'm
really
happy that you said something about Archive 81 because I've known the sound designer for the podcast.
Oh, the sound is so good.
Really?
So good.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dan Powell taught me how to use some audio equipment like right before the pandemic. We've known each other since at least 2015, 2016. So
please let him know how much I enjoyed the sound design, and that the sound design is also getting a lot of good feedback on that show.
Oh yeah, and somehow, so like he's had a crazy last couple years because he started working for the New York Times, like doing sound design and audio engineering for the Daily, and then also had like sold the IP for Archive 81, and is working on a new show that's going to be coming out in
Nice.
That's
February.
super cool. We should chat at some point about just the power of sound design in podcasting.
Oh
at this
yeah,
point.
it's so good. It's such a big reason why Archive 81 is so creepy. It's really awesome. Quick shout out, dude named Charlie said, "Can I get a birthday wish shout out?" Is that because it's your birthday? Because if
happy
so,
birthday.
happy birthday. Hi to Brett Putman, former Engadget video producer.
Hey Brett.
Thanks for joining. Our good old friend Brett says he has to check out Peacemaker.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
How are you with the rat stuff in Suicide Squad, Trillian? Did you watch?
I can't
Squad?
watch it. I can't. No,
because
that scene is
there is
so
a character
bad.
who's all she powers.
I know.
Rats,
I can't
like
exactly.
She rats.
I hate it. I hate.
Idris Elba's character has your rat phobia.
He has the same fear, yeah. And then he overcomes it in the show, and I can't overcome mine. I just have. I need all these streaming services to have like a rat eraser or filter, or like I can just skip the parts where the rats are on
them
screen.
Into bunnies. Yeah.
I just don't need the sound. My phobia specifically is about the squeaking, because that's how I discovered I had mice in my apartment. Is when something squeaked on TV and then the mouse in my apartment squeaked back.
Whoa!
Oh yeah, for real. That's why it's a very specific phobia. Like I don't even like looking at them, but like it's the sound that's worse than the.
It was great. Like when we found like a mouse was running around the Engadget office at one point. That was a lot of fun.
It wasn't just one, bro. It was like it was a
couple.
few. It was not great.
All right, I think we get a wrap.
Happy birthday!
Yes,
happy birthday, dude named Charlie.
We did a
big episode
huge
for Ben
episode.
Today.
Yeah, did a huge episode today. So thanks everybody for watching. The stream comes to you via our video team, which is led by Kyle Monk with Julio Barrientos and Luke Brooks, but it's powered by everyone in the chat. If you stuck around this long, rate us on iTunes. You know better than the average person how much algorithms control who lives and who dies in the world of content. So give us a nice rating, send us a nice comment on iTunes or wherever you're listening. It helps. It really does help. And we'll see you next week. Again, happy birthday to dude named Charlie.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.